Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County. Welcome back to SoCo Chat. I'm your host once again, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma, and we thank you for joining us. Today, we're bringing you a special segment of SoCo Chat, one focused on the fires that have been sweeping through parts of Los Angeles these past 10 days. To many of us here in Sonoma County, images of these fires have brought back really heartbreaking reminders of what we went through during the Tubbs Fire of 2017, followed by the Kincaid Fire of 2019, the Walbridge and Glass Fires of 2020, and so on. These are hard memories, but they come with valuable and hard-earned lessons, which many of our local leaders, including the two we have with us today, have been asked to share with our counterparts in Southern California. We thought it would be timely to reflect on these lessons and remind our listeners, including those who may perhaps be new to Sonoma County, what we can and should be doing to prepare for the next wildfire. So with that, let's move on to our discussion. Joining us today is Jeff DuVall, no stranger to SoCo Chat. He's the director of the Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management. Thank you, Jeff, for being here.
Thanks, Paul.
We also have with us Pamela Van Halsema, the Communications Program Specialist for Sonoma Water, But today, Pam is really joining us in her capacity as a survivor of the 2017 fires and a leader who really became known for her involvement in rebuilding Santa Rosa's Coffey Park neighborhood. Pam, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Paul.
Well, Pam, we're going to start with you. Let me give an update. As of this time, we have had more than 10, maybe 12,000 houses destroyed down Los Angeles. 27 dead is the last count. As we speak, the Palisades Fire, which began January 7th, is now 31% contained. Eaton Fire at 65% contained. It seems like we're past the most difficult time, but now, for many of these families, this is the most difficult time. It's just beginning in their recovery. You and your family were among the 1,400 families that lost their homes in Coffey Park in 2017. I'm sure this past week has brought back some difficult memories for you. Tell us what you went through and what you're thinking these days.
Thank you. Yes. First of all, I just want to express that I feel sad.
Yeah.
I feel sad and have an enormous amount of empathy for the communities that are going through this. It affects everybody. Mm-hmm. It affects, of course, very severely the people who lost their homes, their businesses, or their jobs because of the destruction that came through those areas in Altadena and Pacific Palisades and other places too. And so that's my first reaction. For me, I have a reaction of paying very close attention, as I'm sure all of them are doing right now, to is my property okay? Am I in a safe place? And really a lot of questions. I know when my house burned in October of 2017, all I had were questions.
Yeah.
All I had were questions. But one of the things that I knew was I wasn't alone in having those questions, and I imagined my whole neighborhood having that same list of questions. Mm-hmm. And thinking, really, the way forward is to try to work together to find the answers. And so while this is an incredibly difficult time, the first thing to do is to make sure you find a safe place to be for your family and yourself, and to get those really essentials of shelter, food, and health needs, get those taken care of so that you can move on and start unpacking the answers to those questions.
And be willing to accept the help, right? I mean, just
100%.
People are there to help you. They're offering it. Take advantage of it.
Yes. And also be careful in what help you.
That's a very good point.
Being careful about what help you offer if you are someone who wants to be a helper, and being careful about what help you accept. One of the first impulses everybody has is to send the entire clothing in their closet to people. And I remember that happened with us. And it was like, I don't have anything. I don't have a suitcase. Yeah. I don't have a closet. I don't even know where I'm going to sleep tonight. To have like 25 pairs of jeans is a very delightful, but it's not going to help me right now. So knowing when to make those offers of assistance and the appropriate ones for the time and place people are in is really key.
Yeah. And take time as you move each step each day, right?
It's a step-by-step process, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say, a family member just discovered, yes, their house is gone. They don't know how to begin that process of recovery, rebuilding. What advice do you have for them about the actual rebuilding process?
Sure. Well, probably where people are at right now are wondering when they can get back to their property to see what the situation is. They definitely need to, if they are insured, and I know there are going to be people who are not insured. Maybe they were dropped by their insurance company, or for some reason they don't have insurance.
Or inadequate as amount, yeah.
Underinsured as I was, and I think most of my neighbors were underinsured. Just you need to notify your insurance company. And I am assuming that most people who were insured have already done so, but let them know you will be, if you were insured, you should be able to get a bit of an advance. You will. That's part of the way it works to help you get by in the coming weeks and months. But don't close that claim.
Yeah.
Do not close the claim and keep very close track of every interaction you have. One of the first things you could buy or get as a donation is a notebook and a pen.
That's a good point.
And maybe you don't have a computer anymore. So get, if you can, some kind of laptop with that money that you've received so that you can keep track of all those interactions you had with your insurance claim. You should also submit a claim to FEMA and to the Red Cross and get yourself registered with the Red Cross. Both of those practical tips may be an ongoing process. You may get a rejection from FEMA. It's only because they don't have enough information and want to verify that you're not putting in a fraudulent claim.
Right.
It's amazing how many fraudulent claims come through. So it's difficult to get those kind of responses, but just be patient and realize that it's a process.
Yeah.
And you'll have to submit some other paperwork or pictures of your property or whatever it is. But once you have that FEMA number or that Red Cross registration, it can open doors to other aid.
Right. Yeah. It gives you that credibility established that you are a true victim.
Exactly. So those are just some practical tips.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some emergency financial assistance that's available out there too to help you right now.
Exactly. And that FEMA help, which until you're in a disaster, not everybody understands.
Right.
What does FEMA do? What do they provide? They are not going to duplicate something that your insurance company already is slated to provide. So they're ensuring, too, that they're not duplicating benefits and giving it to those who are most in need of help.
Right. And find where that local assistance center is set up, right?
The LAC is a godsend.
That's important. Yeah.
And there are some of those already set up. In fact, some of my neighbors here in Coffey Park are down there volunteering to help at the local assistance center, which is, we loved it. It was a one-stop shop for getting information about what aid is available right now and also replacing important documents that may have burned in the fire.
I remember running into you and your husband Dwayne when you were in line down there because it was on the ground floor of the Press Democrat, and I was working in the Press Democrat in those days. And
oh yeah,
I would come out and see so many friends out there. It brings tears to my eyes just remembering that. But that was a great opportunity. One-stop shop for everything.
And I can tell you, in those subsequent fires, and my neighbors and I up at Kincaid Glass Fire, we would go and volunteer to just share what we knew.
Right.
It's a learning process, and I also say it's a huge process in learning civics and understanding whose job is it to take care of this or whose job is it to take care of that in our county and city governments. We all learn a lot about civics going through the process of recovery.
Well, and you have a lot to share. And I do want to note that you became a leader in your neighborhood. You were a block captain and a president of Coffey Strong, which was the neighborhood support group. You went on to and you became a real voice for homeowners and trying to navigate all the challenges with insurance and contractors and so many other things. Tell us about that a little bit too. You went to help victims of the Paradise Fire and Maui as well, right?
Yeah, in that note, and if I can just put it in the context of the fire that is down in LA right now, before the fire burned, the day before the fire, hit, I was a school librarian in Petaluma.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was doing. I was also interested in community stuff. I got involved in community stuff. It wasn't foreign to me. But when the opportunity came, when our county supervisor gathered those of us in his district whose houses had burned, James Gore, we got together in a big auditorium and we talked about organizing into a good communications and advocacy system. We call it the block captain system. Some people were asked to raise their hands. Would you be willing to help out? And these I like to think of as emergent leaders. These are not your elected officials. These are not city staff, but they're people in your neighborhood who feel like you have the capacity today to help you and your neighbors navigate and answer those questions and get the right resources at the right time. And I wanted to do that, and I knew I had a background in communications and that's really the niche that I filled in helping effective communications throughout the years of Coffey Strong. And many others contributed in many significant ways. Jeff Okrepke and Steve Rahm and Tricia. I can't name them all because there's a big group of them in our neighborhood. But we all contributed, and that's going to happen. And you need to try to make it happen in Pacific Palisades and in Altadena and those other places. Organize as a neighborhood, as a community, and be a collective voice for the shared needs that you all have right now.
Yeah. And once again, importance of community, working together, stepping up and supporting each other through the whole thing, because there's going to be ups and downs.
And the shocking thing is, if you've ever done any organizing or campaigning or anything what is the first thing you think of is knocking on doors?
Right.
Well, guess what? The doors have burned and no one's there. No one is home. So one of the very first challenges that you're going to have as you leave that shelter or that hotel room is finding your neighbors.
Yeah.
If your house didn't burn, if you're here in Sonoma County, get the phone numbers and email addresses of your neighbors.
That's a great tip.
Do you know how to get in touch with your neighbors if your neighborhood is suddenly gone? This is one of our first challenges that we had to encounter. And so that meeting that the county supervisor held, we got together and we all wrote down our phone numbers and the people who were willing to shared our contact information so we could start meeting together and organizing things, because you're dispersed far and wide after a disaster like this.
Yeah. One question I want to ask, I know it comes up a lot with people who are working with their insurance companies. Had you kept any photos or anything of what was in your house, or had any videos of I know that's often what people say. You should take a video of your interior of your house to able to help you with the whole
this is
adjusting process.
Yeah, the having to do your insurance policy has different buckets or sections, and one of them is the contents of your house, all your belongings. And believe it or not, you're expected to make a list with prices, ages, condition of every item you've ever owned that's in your house. That's down to a paper clip.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was one thing that was incredibly difficult for me, probably the hardest thing for me. And I want to know that you can advocate and pictures are one of the ways that I really tried to get that list accomplished. Looking back at old pictures, and thank goodness for digital cloud stored pictures, because those ones that were, you have to reach out to family members who live in other areas to try to get pictures of your family.
But even those pictures they had of birthday parties in your house, helpful, right?
Oh, very helpful.
Yeah.
I do want to say, though, that it's possible that you can advocate, and it took me advocating over probably the course of a year to ask for help from my insurance company to complete that list.
Oh, jeez.
So I created an initial list, but to really get the full value of the contents of my house, I was able to have someone come and interview me, and from my insurance company, an adjuster came, and after that, I was able to get the full value.
Oh, that's great.
And folks who are older, senior citizens, folks who are have an injury or disabled, can, with the Americans with Disabilities Act, request that assistance right away.
Oh, that's good. That's
to
a good
navigate
point.
your claim, you have a right with the ADA to ask for extra assistance from your insurance company. And so I recommend doing that. I've been in touch with a family in Pacific Palisades who lost their home, and it's an older couple, and one of them is confined to bed with severe Parkinson's. And that was one of the first things I said is you need to ask for this extra assistance.
Really good point. Thank you for, I wanted to jump into that really quickly because I know you had some great thoughts. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We'll come back. But speaking of assistance and helping out, Jeff, you've been emergency services manager with more than 17 years of leadership in emergency management and community engagement. And you've now been head of the Department of Emergency Management here in the county since 2023. Why don't you start off by telling us what kind of support Sonoma County has been providing for Southern California in terms of fire and emergency support?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Paul. One of the first things off the bat, I just want to say that my heart and my prayers are out to everyone who's been affected. I'm originally from Southern California. I know some of the fire survivors, especially out in the Altadena area. My colleagues throughout my profession are working night and day to make sure that those services and those shelters and those local assistance centers like Pam that spoke about are getting up and established and just really helping those folks rebuild their lives and get on that new path to recovery. Sonoma County has been providing mutual aid, both through the fire emergency mutual aid system. We've sent several strike teams. So a strike team is 5 like engines with one battalion chief or chief officer commander that oversees them. We have sent down task forces. We have paired up with other counties, Mendocino, Humboldt County, Sonoma County, and I believe Lake was a part of that too, to send fire equipment down there. We've sent what they call on the fire side overhead positions. So these are chief officers or command officers that are going to go fill a role on the incident management team, such as a safety officer or an operations section chief. And then just this morning, we sent out what we call emergency management mutual aid down to the city of Malibu. We have sent a public information officer and we have sent a logistics specialist and a logistics section chief down there to help them out for about a week and a half inside of their emergency operations center.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's just a reminder of how much support we got back in 2017 and all these fires.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody becomes overwhelmed, we need that support, whether it's firefighters on through the system, right?
Definitely. That's how the system's designed. And that's how it works, to pull those resources from outside of the area, from great lengths of the state. The emergency management or the emergency mutual aid concept or compact act has been activated, and that's where we're receiving fire resources from outside of state: Texas, Montana, Nevada, Arizona, and the list just goes on and on. So all those emergency mutual aid systems are coming together and working in Southern California.
Well, you're no stranger to crises. You know these come in phases, and we seem to be moving out of the most critical phase, the immediate fire risk, and moving into the next phase. What is that? Recovery? What is that transition like?
So we're looking at recovery right now, and recovery for us in emergency management starts when response starts. Okay. We're already thinking we're thinking in the response phase of what's going on, what's the impact, how do we mitigate this, but at the same time, we're starting that conversation of recovery. Who needs to be at the table? What resources do we need to start mobilizing? Starting to engage our partners at the state level for the local assistance centers. So as you and Pam had mentioned, local assistance centers, that's that one-stop shop. It's city building departments, code officials, county building departments, auditor, treasurer, tax collector, clerk, recorder, assessor, our partners from the state. It's DMV to get you a new driver's license, State Department of Insurance to give you information on insurance services and how to avoid insurance fraud and contracting fraud. The federal government is there with their resources. It's a one-stop shop to give you different resources and also to give you those resources to prove your identity, so that way you can get those different programs from county, state, and federal, and even with some of our community-based organizations.
Well, sometimes it's a challenge just finding a place where you can do all that, a central
It
one-stop
is.
shop. I mean, physically where people can park, where FEMA can park its trailers, where
Yes.
American Cross can do their thing. I remember all those trailers being set up downtown after the 2017 fires.
Yep. Larger the incident, the more people that we need to bring in. So I'll just compare. So if we have a flood type event, we're maybe talking 5 or 6 people from DMV, depending on the size of the flood. A size of the Kincaid fire or the 2017 fires, we're talking 20, 30 people from DMV. And that's just one department. That's going to be in the building or in that multi-purpose room. So it's really looking at facilities that we can scale up. And I'm sure that's what my counterparts in LA have been looking for, to get those local assistance centers up.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, there's been a lot of discussion about the app Watch Duty.
Yes.
Right? Which was started here in the North Bay.
It was right here in Sonoma County.
And right in Sonoma County. And it's really taken off. Now I understand there's more than 600,000 subscribers in Southern California, with tremendous growth just in the past 2 weeks, which is understandable. Tell us what you know about Watch Duty and what you think about it.
Watch Duty is a great app. I think it takes and it bridges a gap that is out there. Before Watch Duty, you had all these folks that would report what they're hearing on public safety scanners and what they were getting from us on many different social media feeds. And what Watch Duty does is that takes that and combines it down to one area and combines it to one geographical area, but on one app for everyone to go to. So you're not trying to figure out what the Twitter handle is if you're a visitor or someone from outside the area. What Watch Duty has been able to do is to push out information to our community in lifetime, sometimes partnering with public safety or partnering with the county or the Department of Emergency Management here in Sonoma County, to provide that just the extra layer of situational awareness and what is going on within an area.
Which is great, which is really helpful because, you don't know when you see smoke in the distance. Are we talking about a car burning on the highway, or are we talking about 15 acres that's spreading quickly? And Watch Duty is to help you get a quick proportion of what's going on, a quick idea, but it also can help you see where that's going and whether it's going to get bigger.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen it here. I've talked with many of our members in our community of Watch Duty, of just those. Is it a car fire on the 101 or is it something bigger? And they're able to go to that app and see that Watch Duty has posted that information there.
Yeah. And they've gotten, and as the years have passed, they've gotten more reliable from our perspective, because we've been aware of them from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And they've gotten better and better about the accuracy of the information. And I think it's great.
And that's part of the partnership.
Yeah.
I know we have had many conversations with Watch Duty about, information sharing, what they're posting.
Right.
And we've got a good working relationship with them. I know Josh over there very well. And it's that right there, just, hey, this is what this means and this is what that means when we say it to our community, and just getting them on board with us. So it's been great.
Yeah. Well, this is a good time to remind our listeners about the alerts they should be signing up for.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, so could you tell us about such as NICSA alerts and SoCo alerts? Yeah,
definitely. So, and I think this is very timely. So in the county here in Sonoma County, we have SoCo alerts, and you can sign up for SoCo alerts by going to socoemergency.org, clicking that blue Be Prepared tab, and the very first tab or button that comes up says sign up for alerts. And that will take you to the SoCo alert sign up page. You'll enter your information, create an account, home phone numbers, cell phone numbers, emails, and whatnot. I also encourage everyone while they're on that website to go one box over and know your zone, know your evacuation zone here in the county.
So important.
So for alerts here in Sonoma County, we have SoCo Alert. Again, SoCo Alert is the text messages and the phone calls that you'll get to your device, advising you of an evacuation warning, evacuation order, or a shelter in place. The wireless emergency alert is what we send across your cell phones, and that is that amber style alert that you'll get. And that will have the same information. It will say who it is from. So it will say Sonoma County Sheriff, Sonoma County Fire, Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management, and what it is: evacuation warning, evacuation order, shelter in place. It will give you the zone number that is under that advisory or that warning, and with any other instructions. And then there'll be a tiny URL. That URL will take you over to SoCo Emergency, to our emergency map.
Which is great. Great tool.
We have spent a lot of time and investment into that map to make it useful for our community. And the map will show you what is in evacuation warning or order. And it will also give you where the temporary evacuation point is. And you'll go to the temporary evacuation point. Our partners from Human Services will be there. They'll be able to give you information of what is going on. And at the same time, we'll be in the background setting up, if needed, a care and shelter site. And then once that gets established, the folks at the temporary evacuation point, or the TEP, will redirect you over to the shelter site.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, one last question. I mean, I can't believe this is January, right?
Yes.
I mean, some people still haven't put away their Christmas decorations, and we're already talking about fire preparations. But since this is thrust upon us, do you have any other advice of what people should be doing or thinking now about getting ready for fire season? It's hard to believe that we're already. Usually, you and I have this conversation in May or June.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is a great example. Southern California, and especially that area, is no stranger to fires in January. Even when I lived down there, there was some very large fires this time of the year. This is a great reminder that fire season is year round.
Yeah.
It could happen anywhere. To put a little more context, here in Sonoma County, the winds that we had at the same time, the only reason why it was not a red flag condition for us in here in Sonoma County is because we had the rain, and our vegetation and our fuel moisture out there was still wet. Yeah. So we didn't rise to that occasion, but we had almost the full mixture to make a red flag, except for dry vegetation. Yeah. So my message to the community is fire season is year round. You never know. Have a plan, have your go bag, have that conversation with everyone at home. What's going to happen, because you never know if you're going to be at work, you're going to be at school. If you got school-age children, know what the school's plan is. Talk to the principal, talk to the teachers. What is the plan there? Have emergency numbers. I know
Pam was mentioning that, and knowing your neighbor's numbers. That's
knowing your neighbor's numbers. I know it's 2025. We all have cell phones, and we've lost the memorization of remembering key numbers. So, keep a printout of some of those numbers somewhere. Yeah. I know for myself, we keep a battery pack so we can plug our phones in the glove box of our car. It's in my go bag, and it's there for that reason. If something happens and I need to plug my phone in right now to keep it up and going.
That's a really good. I'm going to do that when I get home. Put a battery in my car.
In fact, I just charged the one that's in my truck. But yes, I mean, know your zone. Yeah. Fire season is all around us. It's year round.
And the zone can come in whether it's fire season, flood season, whatever. That is such an important thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Pam, I want to go back to you one last time. Your final thoughts. You were quoted once as saying that navigating a disaster is never about one person. Tell us what you meant by that.
Well, navigating the recovery after disaster, of course, we all know this here in Sonoma County, it impacted everyone who lives here.
Right.
And we came up with a family motto I think we actually had it before the fire, but it's like, nothing's ever simple. Recovering after fire isn't simple. It has impacted your job. It has impacted your school. It has impacted your emotional well-being, your financial well-being. And you can't get through that as a lone ranger. Let's put it that way. We know with resilience, and after the fire, I got involved in a really cool project called the Sonoma Community Resilience Initiative, collaborative, and we were helping folks who may have had PTSD or how to calm your nerves when those red flag warnings come up, We trained 200 people across the county to have those skills to lead others in helping to manage those feelings. And I would say, as you don't go it alone, you help one another, and you also accept help from others.
Yeah.
You understand that times are hard sometimes. I was a president of Coffey Strong for only a portion of time because I needed to take a break.
Yeah.
Any of us who are maybe leaders at a certain time have to take breaks so that we're ready to come back and do the work again.
Yeah.
And understand that about the others around you, that sometimes we need to have grace. And it's all about the people involved, the humans involved, the animals involved, and that we can get through things, and we're not going to have life the way we had it before. It's going to be different, but it doesn't have to be absent of joy or hope. I think we can have joy and hope and realize that as a community, we're going to have some silver linings. They're hard to see right now.
Yeah.
You're going to have new friends that you never knew you had. I call them my fire family.
Yeah. And you're going to become closer to your neighbors once you get through it too. Because
I have a texting group that I call the insurance ladies because we dealt with insurance issues together, but we still get together. These are different friends you never knew you were going to need to rely on and to love.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. On a final note, Jeff, I'm going to ask you to retell a story that you told. You shared just before we went on the air, when we discovered that you and Pam are actually neighbors. You moved into the Coffey Park neighborhood in 2019, right around the time of the Kincaid fire. As that was unfolding, something happened. Will you tell us that story?
Yeah, so I was sharing in June of 2019. I moved up here as the deputy director for the department. Got to watch Coffey Park rebuild over the last 5 years. And the night of the Kincaid fire, I was activated in the Emergency Operations Center, and Chris Godley, the director at the time, said, you need to go home. You need to go home and pack stuff up. And I said, okay. My wife and my daughter were down in LA. So I got home, pulled into the driveway, and my neighbors came over and they said, hey, what's going on? And I was giving them update, what was going on, what the fire was doing, why we went so large with the evacuation zone that day, and what the predictions were going to be. And just me being me, I just said, what can I do? What can I do to help you? And I'll never forget, they turned to me and they said, no, it's, what can we do to help you? What can we do to help you, move your stuff? And I pushed back and I said, no, what can I do to help you to pack up? And one of my neighbors said, Jeff, I already lost everything. This is just stuff to replace what I had. Let me help you get your stuff into your car, stuff that means stuff to you. We've got time on our side. So what can we do to help? And I almost broke in tears right then and there. And I've never forgotten that. And I'll just say, living in Coffey Park for the last 6 years and doing my job here as the county's emergency manager, like my strength and my drive to build the programs and the services that we have and keep expanding and doing stuff has come from hearing those stories of those fire survivors and every day driving through Coffey Park and watching lots become homes and watching kids run up and down the street and play and enjoy the park. And just knowing that behind the scenes, we're putting programs and systems in place to help and warn and be there for the next disaster and emergency.
Well, I get emotional just hearing you tell that story. I can't think of a better example of what it means to be Coffey Strong, what it means to be Sonoma Strong, and what we've learned as a community, and what this community wants to offer Southern California is offering, people going down and helping out. And I think that's wonderful. So I just want to thank both of you for being here. I know this is a hard subject to talk about, but it's an important one. We have learned a lot, and I appreciate how much you have been sharing and continue to share with your peers and friends and family out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
And as a token of our appreciation, a very small token, we'd like you to take our SoCo Chat mug with you. And we hope you'll come back and be a guest again sometime. But and to our listeners, we thank you all for joining us as well. We hope you continue to follow SoCo Chat on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you, Pam and Jeff.
Thanks, Paul.